is mine is always uh, money, right? The expense of it, but it's also the veterinarian. I had a client today whose veterinarian absolutely does not believe that you should feed your dog anything except kibble.
Shoot.
Um, and then convenience. So those are the three hills that people need to figure out a way around. And unfortunately, be a really big hurdle to get over, especially if you have a veterinarian who, I see this a lot. In fact, we were talking about earlier. You have a veterinarian who's great, who saved your puppy from parvo when it was a puppy and literally saved your dog's life. But then as time goes on, they're maybe not informed about certain other aspects, but for some reason, different than our human doctors, we expect our veterinarians to be experts in every single aspect. And if something's going wrong, I spoke with Kasie earlier about a dog that it breaks my heart because I know that I'm not saying her vet is bad. I'm saying her vet is not right for the situation that this dog is having. And so, but the client is, I can't because I helped my dog with heart problems. And so we, and it's something I really want to start speaking to people is understanding that veterinarians do not know a lot about nutrition, not taught about it in veterinary school, and therefore they're limited. And when nutrition is such a huge part of your pet's health, I mean, it's huge. So we have to be willing to say, I may have to have different veterinarians. It may not be convenient for me, but that's a huge hurdle for people because that puts a lot of,
It
and
does.
especially if, like with you, you're lucky because people are already coming to you and kind of on board. For me, they come to me and they're not on board, and I've got a sick animal in front of me, and those things become an issue, and it's so tragic because
Yeah, but Carrie, you know what also can happen is that they might be on board and then they're all excited and they go to their vet and then their vet tells them not to. So,
oh no, that happens
that happens to me.
all
So
the time.
one of the things that we do is we do have a referral list, and I usually like my first conversation with people, especially if they come and they haven't even got their puppy yet or they just got a puppy that's their first dog, they're new to everything.
Yeah.
They come in thinking I'm going to just get them situated with the raw diet but or food, but usually way before we even get there I'm talking to them about creating their team. So their team needs to be a veterinarian who's on board. So they have to have this, it takes a village, so they have me to help them
Yeah.
with the food, but they have a veterinarian who will support those choices. They
Yeah.
have a trainer who will support those choices, and they have care, so like a daycare or a pet sitter or whoever's going to be doing that kind of care, like their
Yeah.
dog walker or their boarding facility, who also will be on. And have to make sure that they have that whole community on board to help
Let me
them.
throw one more out there
Yeah,
for you that
yeah,
to
yeah.
get on board, and that would be your pet's groomer. Because let me just tell
Ah,
you,
you're right
and
about that.
yes, I am a
I
groomer, but
forget
let me
because I
just
have
tell
Great
you,
Danes and they don't need to go.
they don't
I
need
am
to,
the
but let
groomer.
me tell you how often the groomer
You're right.
causing, the problem, not the problem, but if they're using improper shampoos, if they're using medicated shampoos that are killing the bacteria that you're trying, you're feeding all this good bacteria, you're doing all this raw diet, and your groomer's in the back using Dawn dish soap, you know, and
Or like
doing
some kind of flea or tick medication or medicated
exactly,
soap.
they're putting
Oh,
toxic
it's
flea
not
stuff on your animal.
necessary at all.
Yeah,
Soap
no,
kills fleas. Just
you
soap.
have to
Any kind
have.
of soap.
I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, listen, if you're really, you'd be surprised, baby shampoo can kill fleas
Any
if you
kind
leave
of
it on
soap.
long enough.
A
If you leave it on
surfactant
long
will
enough.
kill the flea. So you
Yeah.
just need a surfactant. Yeah.
You can use, but your groomer, I mean, I can't tell you how many
You're
times they're
right.
putting ear solution down in a dog's ear that doesn't need to be down there.
And what's your
And
take on anal glands? I'd love to hear your position on anal gland
it's
expression
it
and
it is a really hard take. I think that we should feed them the right diet so that they don't need their anal glands done. I
so you
think
don't
that
believe in doing it like prophylactically, like we'll just do it part of the routine. express the anal gland
No,
every
but the
time they come
problem
in, or do
is
you think that should be, what's your recommendation on that?
my recommendation when puppies come to me who haven't gone anywhere, who they haven't had it started, is don't do anything. You come talk to me if it starts to be a problem, and then
Okay.
we'll increase your fiber. The problem is, come to me are eating a poor diet and they've already had their anal glands expressed so many times
Aw.
that the sac has been so, you
Compromised.
know, damaged that
Yeah.
now you have an animal who's uncomfortable constantly.
Aw.
So you kind of get into this vicious cycle that is really hard to break
Yeah.
because what are you going to do? You can't make it comfortable. So you
Right.
end up expressing his glands before they become a huge problem. But there, I just had a dog in today, a little King Charles Cavalier that we were constantly needing to do her glands, and I would go in internally and do them, but I finally got her, and today she came in today and I checked the glands. I didn't do them, and they were fine. They were fine.
Oh.
And she changed diet. So,
Yeah.
but sometimes people think it's more convenient just do the glands. I don't care. Just whatever, just do them.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with you. I think that that would compromise their natural ability to express
yeah,
themselves and maintain their health,
right.
just naturally if they're eating a species appropriate diet and getting adequate exercise, because exercise is a big part of that, and their weight. So if they're overweight, not getting enough exercise, and eating an inappropriate diet, they're just situated to. That's kind of a problem waiting to happen right there.
Yeah.
I would imagine. That's my experience. I know you have a lot more as a groomer. That's, yeah.
I wish people understood the problems that they deal with. So ear infections, anal gland problems, skin problems, licking, chewing.
Nails,
So
the health of their nails.
the health of their nails,
Yeah,
the
like a strong,
colicky.
healthy, non-brittle nail. It's, if you have
Yeah,
brittle nails, we can fix that with diet. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's something that I feel will never end. I will continue to struggle, and everybody has their different views of. We talked about this too earlier. Is what is a healthy? What tell me is a healthy dog is
Right.
not my definition of a healthy dog.
Right.
So, and I ask every single client that comes in the door, does your pet have any health problems? He had any changes in his health? And I'll look at the dog who's got a raging ear infection and is 4 pounds, 5 pounds overweight. And they're like, no, he's been good.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I learned like early on. That my first experience with my cat that I told you on your episode previously.
Yeah.
If anyone had asked me, she got sick, very deathly ill at 9. But if anyone had asked me at age 8 if my cat was a healthy cat, she went to the vet and got a clean bill of health. Everything was fine. Of course, she was on a prescription RD diet because she was overweight. She also had
Yeah.
arthritis. She was skittish. She was licking her tummy to take all of her fur off. She had fleas. She had flaky skin. She was, her behavior was a little bit off. I mean, there was a lot of things about her. She was depressed. She would just sleep with her head in the bowl all the time, waiting for me to feed her. It was super sad. I mean, all that stuff. But if someone asked me, I would have said she was healthy because the vet said she was
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah.
But I didn't know
No.
what healthy was. I had no idea, and I thought 8 was maybe getting older. That's so ridiculous. That's like saying a 20-year-old kid is getting old.
Getting old.
They're not. That's a young cat. That is not an
Yeah.
old cat.
It is
So
not an old cat.
no, it's
No,
wrong.
but
It's sad.
that is part of the problem is us defining, what healthy senior is, right? I mean, how many times have you heard that the 7-year-old dog is a senior?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, now these days that's sad. I mean, that is how we're
right, but
defining
it shouldn't
things.
be.
No, it
It,
shouldn't
it
be.
shouldn't be. We shouldn't be accepting that 7 is like, oh yeah, well, she's 7, so you
No,
know.
fight against that.
Yeah, we have to
We need to
fight
make
against that.
7 needs to be the new 3.
7 is the new 3. Well, I have a soon to be 9-year-old golden retriever,
Woohoo!
and
That's great.
my
Yeah.
last golden retriever lived to be 15, so,
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's
and
what
very healthy 15.
and it used to be that was normal. It
Yeah,
just isn't normal now. It's not
right.
common now. It's like
Oh
really
no,
exceptional.
it did used to
Oh,
be normal. It's not, but
Lori typed something. Her cats lived to be 21 and 22. My past cats did too, and now I have an 18-year-old that I'm like, dude, you're gonna live to be 30 because the ones that I had that were 21 and 22, I switched them at 15 and 9. So
yeah,
like they didn't get to enjoy starting
the
on
whole
raw.
right
Yeah,
from
so the
starting
one I
raw.
have
Yeah,
now, he's 18 and he started at 4.5 weeks. So I'm
Yeah.
telling him all the time, you're gonna make it to be 30, Mister.
I keep telling
That's
my
the
dog
deal.
that. I keep telling Ansel that.
Yeah.
You're come on, dude. Like, I can't accept but
Yeah.
my golden, who's going to be 9 at the end of June, she just chases the ball and people yard and people I had a guy walk by the other day and he has a Labrador retriever who's 11 and he said, "How old?" And he knows her, he's seen her, but he just assumed she was still 4. And I said, "No." And he's like, "I don't understand." And he's got an overweight dog who's, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
It's
we do
amazing.
know is that our experience has shown us that as a raw diet done the right way is the healthiest diet we can do. What do you think about, and we don't have to call out any companies, but it's something that I struggle with a lot because people, I told you those 3 things, right? Price, convenience, and your veterinarian putting stress, 3 hurdles that people come across. So one of the things that have come up a lot lately is these, I call them convenience foods, where they're being sent to your house and sometimes you can type in your dog's name and his breed and we'll come up with his very special diet just for him and then it gets sent to your house with your dog's name on it. What do you think of those? Let me ask you this. Do you think it's possible to financially have a successful company that is preparing your dog's food and shipping it to your house for that food to be 100% right on board with what you would consider healthy?
I guess the way I should answer that is, of course, it's probably better than feeding kibble.
Sure.
So like if you're just starting out and you feel really overwhelmed or really confused and you're grasping, and I would say that's an okay place to start. It's definitely an improvement, like you said, like making baby steps. I mean,
Yeah.
doing things better, just keep doing things better, and that would be better. I don't like the idea of people getting this idea that it is set it and forget it.
Yeah.
I also think, well, I have my own standards for what I think is healthy, and that's why I don't sell any other foods in my shop, just mine. I sell the ingredients, but I don't I sell RAR brand, and my
Yeah.
friend, she makes that, but cat food. But I don't, because now, after all these years of doing it, I don't think that adding vitamin mineral premixes, or that most of them have, that's usually there's two, well, there's more than two things, but two primary problems that I see with a lot of commercially prepared raw diets is that they oftentimes add those vitamins and minerals, which I don't like. I don't think those are safe, and I don't think they're healthy, and I don't think it's not something I would trust long term. That we've seen a lot of problems with those things in the industry, and a lot of animals have been harmed and killed or been made sick from those. When things go wrong, it goes really wrong. Because with
Right.
food, you make a mistake, they're not going to usually die or get, usually with like,
Interesting. The
yeah, but
body,
with,
the body knows what to
yeah,
do. If you eat too much banana, okay, and you're getting so much potassium, a lot of times the body knows what to do with that. But if I'm taking
yeah.
potassium supplements,
Oh, yeah,
the
you're going to
body's
have a
like,
cardiac problem real
I don't,
fast.
yeah, like, oh,
Yeah,
what's happening? What's happening? What's
that's
happening?
putting you at high risk. Yeah. And
Right.
that,
And
if
that's,
they're
I
not,
the supplements because
yeah.
we've seen it. We've seen dogs die for too little of supplements, too many supplements. Because if you're wanting to make a diet with supplements and you don't use the right amount, or you're doing the supplements and the food already has it, because a lot of times people forget that your food has. So if it's a high vitamin A food and you're adding vitamin A,
And also, a lot of times it's not even in like the right form. So there's all kinds of vitamin A, and if
right,
you're adding
exactly,
like it's not the preformed vitamin A, then, and also like these synthesized things that we take out of the food in a lab. We also usually add other little like, inactive ingredients to that, like stabilizers and flower, things that help, flow agents and things like that. That those are things that aren't even really necessarily listed, or you don't even know that that's actually in there, but it is. And
yeah,
and all of those things, it's just it's problematic. It just said, I don't know why you don't need to take on that risk when you can accomplish everything through food? And I know it's harder to accomplish everything through food. And then what, what parameters or what are you looking at to make a quote unquote balanced or nutritious diet, you know? And so I think that there's a variety of ways I've sort of come up with over, even just in the last few years, I've really accelerated my. There's things that are out there that are helping us make those decisions. Like you can
Yeah,
buy formulating software if you want to.
sure.
You can also do a regular blood test, which will not tell you a lot of nutrition information, but it'll tell you some information on their health. Then you can also do with VDI labs. Those guys can test B12, they can test vitamin D, they can test the
Yeah,
metabolic function, their cancer risk. There's all these interesting things. You can also do with Parsley Pet, do the hair mineral analysis test. So you can test like heavy metals. You can also test like, are they getting adequate calcium? Are they metabolizing the calcium or the magnesium or all of these different nutrients? And how's their adrenal function? I mean, these are things, there's tests that you can run if you want. You can also do the animal biome test to check their fecal microbiota and test their gut health and make sure that they're able to maintain good diversity of their gut flora. All of those things are important, and all of those things are informative and help us make, like, it basically helps you verify like what you're doing is right.
yeah,
If you're
right.
concerned or if your animal isn't thriving, like why aren't they thriving? Is there something that we're missing for this individual? And what do we need to do to tweak the diet? Because that's on an individual basis. That's not something that's one of the problems with some of those companies, is that on an individual basis you may not be able to make adjustments as necessary. So that's the main thing, is usually those vitamin mineral premixes that are added. The other thing that I have a problem with is the quality of the sourcing of the proteins. um, you can't like, I mean, you can. This is what kibble does. You have poor quality ingredients and then you just slap some extra vitamins on top and call it good. I
Yeah,
mean, the problem is that, you can't, it's a cracked foundation. If you have a
yeah,
crumbling, cracked foundation and you build a beautiful house on it, you still have that crumbling, cracked foundation that's going to be a risk.
yeah,
So if the foundation is the quality of the food and the ingredients that are being used. And I know everybody has their own standards for what they find comfortable or what they feel is suitable and healthy. And my standards are extremely high. But, and not everybody can necessarily find those things. But I tell people, go to eatwild.com. Anywhere you live in the United States, you can find a local farm that's raising things in a different way, not like the factory farm meats, which are problematic for a lot of reasons. But if you are what your food eats. So if you're eating beef that was raised on something that made the cow sick, then because it wasn't the right food for them, then that's going to translate into less healthy, less nutritious beef that you're going to be eating or feeding to your animals. So, the quality of the ingredients is really important to me, and that's another thing that I don't see. Those companies couldn't possibly do that usually. I mean, I'm not going to say ever. Some ways you never know, but typically they're not using those. They're using something that was, human consumption, which is fine, but there's a whole nother level involved with that. There's a lot of nuance in the sourcing as well. And
I think,
that changes the nutrient quality and also the safety of the food.
yeah, one of my problems with it is that the expense of it. So I've seen, like, I know it's convenient, guys, but it bothers me that they pay a lot of money for it because it gets shipped to their house. But you can go and, there's lots of
Your
little
farmer's
boutique.
market.
Yeah,
Go
like,
to your farmer's market. Join
yeah,
a meat
and you can
CSA. Try to.
get a commercial food. Maybe it's not delivered to your house because the commercial foods that are really good, like Bones and Company or Answers, those kind of
Yeah.
things, they're not going to deliver it to, it's not coming to your house, but you can pick it up and at least,
Yeah. And sorry, you're cut off right now. I don't want to speak over you, though. But I was going to say is that, that also, that sort of set it and forget it. Like, I'm going to get beef, lamb, or whatever, like, every single day of the animal's life. Like, you don't want to, that's one of the problems with kibble. Even with the recommendations to feed kibble properly is, one, it goes rancid after 2 weeks of opening a bag. Most people don't know that, but that's, the industry will tell you that. And then also, the kibble companies will admit to that. And then also, you don't want to feed the same kibble forever and ever. And that's the same is true for our fresh food diets and our raw diets. You want to have a variety of proteins that you're using, a variety of different foods that you're incorporating, and on a week by week or day by day or month by month or season by season basis, your animal is going to have a different reaction, a different response. They're biological beings. They're going to, maybe they need more fat or more protein or more, they're going through different things in their life that may require different nutrition. And so you can't really pivot and respond to that as well as if you're doing some sort of subscription service that's just sort of plopping it off to you like
Right.
generically with everybody else, the
Yeah.
same thing forever. I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Well, you and I, we,
Although it is
not a lot
better
of
than
people.
kibble. It's still better than kibble. So don't, I'm not saying
Well,
that, it's a
that's
good
kind of what
stepping
happens
stone. Yeah.
too, is that people see, they go from a kibble to one of the prepared diets that gets shipped to you, and they see an improvement, and they think,
Yeah.
this is the best thing I've ever seen. I've seen improvement. My problem with it is that things take a lot of time to start to deplete in the body. So
Yeah.
if your animal was seriously depleted and you gave them a little bit better, you're going to improvement. But you may start to see that go back down over time, or things happen. A lot of those are very, very heavy, heavy. The home delivery ones are really heavy on rice, potato,
Oh gosh.
macaroni.
So that, oh no.
Those are
I
very heavy on that
okay,
because
so I didn't
the
even know
cost.
that. So sorry,
Oh, I
but
thought you
because I
knew.
don't know all these brands, I kind of there's I've been doing this so long, and they pop up and they don't make it and they go away. And but there are a
Yeah,
lot. I mean, now they're just going crazy. It seems like I
they're
can't even
going
keep up with
crazy,
so
and
many
that's
that are opening.
that's why
But
it's
yeah, if they're focused on if you're, I mean, I know that there's this one brand that they have stores. They're really fancy stores. I'm not
mm-hmm,
going to name names, but we call it we call it just potato and carrots. That's what we call them.
potato and carrots.
Because they don't have, you're spending all this money for food
Hmm.
that's just your it's poop.
Potatoes and carrots,
It goes
and
through the
he.
dog and it comes out the other side the same. I mean,
Uh,
you're not feeding, they're not getting nutrition from that. It's so
no,
wasteful. It's such a scam.
yeah,
I mean, that sounds terrible. I don't mean to say it's a scam. What I mean is that I know that whoever is doing those businesses, might have the best intentions, but from someone who has a different perspective, I'd like to focus on the foods that one won't cause any harm, because those foods do cause harm, and a lot of animals have problems with those. It's pro-inflammatory, that creates
diabetes.
yeast, diabetes. There's a lot of diseases associated with those ingredients. And
Yeah,
they're using the template from kibble. So, of course, it is a little bit better from kibble, but you're still basing the food on that kibble template for quote unquote balance. And that's a problem, because we need to look at nature, we need to look at an animal and go, what's balanced for that animal, not what was balanced for according to an industry's needs, which is what kibble was originally started with. So if you just go back to the history of things, you would understand that that was never developed for an animal, and what their perfect diet would be, or they were looking at what was the perfect diet for basically grain millers during the Second War. But anyway, that's a problem if they're spending a lot of money. You're right, Carrie, on things like potatoes and carrots and grains and things like that. I don't think that's very ethical. But if that's your stepping stone and that's where you start, then that's a good place to start. It's always better to start there with real food than it is to feed highly processed foods, so ultra processed foods. So it's always a good place to start, but I would hope that you would eventually go to something that would be uh, even better. You can always just we can always strive to be better. All of us with everything all the time.
Yes, looks like we lost Carrie. She'll be
Yeah, I
back in a
noticed.
minute. But I just wanted to chime in because I love where this conversation is going. And I actually, I cook for my dogs,
Oh,
right?
cool.
So I also mix in the the freeze dried raw, and then I also mix in raw, right? So I
Right.
switch it up. Um, but a lot of the times when I'm cooking for our dogs, the first time I brought the raw meat home, you know, and I broke it up, and uh, I have a German short hair pointer, and then I have a Weimaraner, and I have a French bulldog.
That sounds
my
fun.
my pointer, he loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. My Frenchie, oh, just loved it. Was just the best thing. And my Weimaraner was so picky. He was like, Mm-mm.
Really?
Touching it.
Wow.
It was
That's
crazy.
really interesting. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's like on an individual level, you have to
it
kind of
is.
figure it out. And that
Yeah.
also might be like for a circumstance like that, you never know. Like maybe they just don't need as much food, and fasting really can help reset not only their gut flora, because sometimes like their interest in food or their appetite or their drive for certain things can be based on their microbiome. So, like
Hmm.
if they are craving carbs, it's not like the dog is craving carbs, it's the bacteria in their gut that's craving the carbs. So what we have to do is crowd out that bacteria and repopulate with the healthier bacteria that are better for your dog overall. And that can be accomplished through fasting, which is really cool. It creates like a gut reset. So if you fast them for a couple of days, like 2 or 3 days, you're going to have a nice, better microflora in there that's going to give them a more normalized and better appetite long term. So you can also start with just little bits, and then you can eventually you'll be able to feed more and more of the raw food, and they'll have a better tolerance and more of a interest in it. I mean, it's really fascinating. I don't know if you've done this with yourself, but if you ever take probiotics, you may even notice that you have more of an interest in certain foods. People find that our microbiota changes with like exercise. So sometimes when people start an exercise routine, they just start to want to eat healthier and better food too. And that's the same with our animals. So as things develop and as they get healthier, your Weimaraner may start to develop more of an interest or an ability to tolerate or have more of an interest in eating the raw food. You never know. But they can also
Hmm.
be picky as far as texture. So sometimes they don't things that are wet or gooey, like ground up. They want things dry in pieces. You just never know what they're like. Everybody's a little bit different, so you just kind of have to find out what works for them and go from there.
That's right. He does like the freeze dried raw
Yeah,
because it's
and it's
dry.
and it's a concentrated flavor too. I mean, when we take the water out of things, it makes it, much more tasty because the concentrated flavor is there. So,
Texture is always a big thing for, certain animals and animals that get addicted to things. And I have a German Shepherd right now that I'm working with, and we decided not to do, his gut is so destroyed. He's not even a year old. He's been on metronidazole four.
oh no,
Yeah, he's
poor
not even a year
sweetie.
old. He's had uh
Oh, that's gonna be a long
metronidazole
haul.
4 times. He's been dewormed. He's had flea and tick stuff put on him. Like, it's not the owner's
No,
fault. It's just
no,
what she
yeah,
didn't know.
right, right, yeah.
And so now we have a very destroyed gut, and the dog has, I'm not even changing the food yet. We just decided to do the poop pills first, and just kind of slowly start to restore the gut and see. But I've done that with dogs before, Lori, where we start restoring the gut before we change the diet, because then they start to crave the right stuff.
Yep.
And then it doesn't get so frustrating. The owner is like, he won't eat any of that. He just wants this, and he just wants he's body thinks that sugar and whatever is food.
Mm.
So I found it really pretty successful to treat the gut first and then change the diet, which
That's a
seems
good
weird
idea.
because the diet can destroy the gut, but
Well, and
it
the
works.
and the diet long enough, like you don't even. Some people say, "Oh, do I need to add enzymes and probiotics?" And I'm like, well, and I know Carrie when we went to that conference a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
that Dr. Patton did his presentation there that was so cool, where he showed that over time, a raw fed dog, they will actually have the same microbiota like makeup um, as a wild
as
wolf
a
in the
wolf.
wild, just by time. So feeding them a raw diet over time, they will eventually align up with a healthy microbiota. But if you want to speed that up, then you can add in the other supplements and things. But I'm like, you don't have to. As long as you're patient, it's okay. You can wait.
Yeah,
But some people want to have it happen right away.
they
So it
want it
just
to
depends.
happen right away.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why, you know we don't have that patience, and that's actually the reason why our animals are getting sicker, because we want that quick fix. We want the diarrhea to go away now. We don't want the body, sometimes, diarrhea is the body's way of getting rid of.
It's
We don't.
good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
thank goodness things move through quickly when they're not good for them. You want it out
right.
of there.
But I mean, one day of
Yeah.
diarrhea and your vet will have your dog on metronidazole so fast,
Oh,
and then you're in this cycle, and sometimes diarrhea is
just
of
getting rid of, like, it's just a
it's just a
purging of
good
getting,
thing,
moving
right?
things through that's not working out, and that's, as long as it's not chronic or like they're really suffering. I
Sure.
mean, that's different. But oftentimes they'll have diarrhea and they're like running around playing and they're fine. And, it's just moving stuff out. It's like, and you don't want that to go on and on and on, but
Of
a
course
day
not.
or two of that,
Yeah.
and they're otherwise acting normally, it's okay.
That's what I always tell people. Otherwise, acting normal, right? Like I Carrie said, and Kasie said, if they have diarrhea for 2 days, it's fine, and the dog's laying in the corner
No.
vomiting, and not wanting to
Yeah.
eat. Those are not. That is not.
No, if they're in pain, they're suffering. Something. Well, also, I always tell people to go to YouTube and learn how to do your dog's vital signs, so you
Yeah,
can check and see, are they stable enough for you to be safe to be at home, or is there something really serious you need to rush into the ER? Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's so easy and it just takes a few minutes, and it's not. You do not need advanced education or training to do vital signs. It's
yeah,
so simple. People are intimidated by it, but it's just a piece of cake, and it's so empowering because now you're like, okay, I know everything's okay physically. Like they're
like
stable.
they're
I
not
don't
in
have to
distress.
worry. Yeah, and maybe they feel a little bit depressed or a little off, but it's nothing really dramatic, and they're stable. Give them a couple days fast and see how it goes, and they're usually going to be okay. And they'll be better off for it too because their body, I don't know. I kind of believe what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So, I mean, their bodies kind of get a little bit of a workout, especially a young animal. Their immune system got a little workout there and they developed some strength or immunity or robustness to things that are in their environment or challenges in their environment that they might be exposed to.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously within reason. You don't want something chronically depleting your animal's immunity and making them really weak and unhealthy. I'm not what I'm saying. But, if they have these little acute things that happen here and there, that's actually, it's not a bad thing. It kind of can keep you fit and healthy long term.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
knowledge for the immune system. It's a teaching for the immune system. Yeah.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Casey, we're gonna kind of wrap this up because
That's
I
what
don't
I
want to
thought.
keep you
Yeah.
so late. But I think we should do this again when we have a little bit more control over what's going on. So we'll talk. I know there says here very shy
Quiet
people. It looks
people.
like, or
Yeah.
maybe they're just having, I don't know. Maybe it's our system and they're not able to type it in.
Yeah,
Could
that's
could
possible.
could one of the 8 people do me a really big favor right now and just type in hi so I know whether it's that you guys are shy or
Ah, look.
there we go. All right. Okay.
Hi, Carol. Thank
Make sure
you.
that this platform works and that we're able to get people in here and we see all these
Oh,
people in here. So,
Victoria.
oh,
Hi,
good. Okay.
Victoria. Thank
Well, thank
you.
you for listening.
Yeah.
So I hope that we are giving you guys some valuable information and some things to think about. I absolutely hope that you will listen to Casey's episode because we talk so her story and her barn kitty and what got her down this path. Casey and I share a lot of stuff in common. We both
Yeah.
were vet techs. Our first book was Dr. Pitcairn,
Yeah.
and
Yep. Yeah.
and it's what set us on the road. We both got on the same path about the same time. She opened SF Raw in
3.
2003,
Yep.
and I opened the spot in 2000
Yep.
because I'm older than you. I'm just older. I'm just older.
But
Uh,
the thing is, curious too. Like, I mean, we both run small businesses based on our passion for
yeah,
helping animals. I mean, that's a struggle in itself.
yeah.
That's a whole
So
nother topic. But yeah.
I know.
Um,
I mean, we could do. Okay, so Carol's feeding just. It looks like just food for dogs, right?
ah.
I think that's what she's feeding. I think that may be the
Oh no,
one.
she's reading Food for Dog. She's feeding this book. This book right
Oh,
here.
she's reading feeding. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I thought she was trying to type in. Oh, okay, good.
I put
Yay.
that book in the background because I want to promote this book. So
Oh,
Carol,
good,
you're
good.
awesome. It's such a good book. And also Carol, are you going so one another place for people to go? Especially if your vets are like kind of pushing back on you on feeding raw, go to the Holistic Vet UK, Raw Pet Medics. They have a weekly show and they usually feature Conor Brady. Conor Brady is usually there. Dr. Nick Thompson is there. They are so awesome and it's so great to hear from other vets who are he actually Dr. Thompson, he has like a worldwide network of vets who are pro raw, not just like tolerating raw. They are pushing for and promoting and advocating for raw feeding. So it's so nice to hear from vets who support raw feeding, and you can get a little more confidence and more real information that might be useful for you. There's also Bella and Dukes. That is such a good, they are so cool. They have such a good, and it's well produced. It's so nice. They do such a good job with their show, and they're always talking about that. And so, anyway, I'm a super big fan.
No,
And I think it's great. Yeah.
it's good. I mean, we need,
Oh,
I used to
cool. Carol
think,
also
oh,
follows Rodney Habib and Dr. Becker. Awesome, Carol. That's so
yeah, we
cool.
have to, thank goodness that we have more and more people coming out and speaking. And I hate to say it, but maybe on our conventional veterinarians to seek more information and
Yeah.
allow it to come into them, because without, I always say I'm not against veterinarians. We
No.
need them,
Yeah.
but we need them to understand the benefits of nutrition
Well, I'm a
and not be
big,
so
yeah.
afraid, right? I think that, people ask me all the time, oh, they just can make money. Well, if they sold a raw diet, would that be just so they could make money? No, not necessarily, right? I think veterinarians sell in their stores uh,
Their clinics.
products
Yeah.
that they feel safe with, that they feel like if they recommend it and something goes wrong, they won't lose their license. So,
Well, yeah, it's standard of care. It's also widely respected, and it's the norm. It's what's normal. So that's what
right,
they've
right,
been like conditioned to being what's normal, what's regularly accepted. With Carrie, I
yeah,
mean, when I went vegan at 1980, no one even knew what that was. And instead, and I never felt like I mean, there was never, I mean, I was such an outliner and a weirdo. I didn't even tell people about it because I didn't want people to be like, people just say the weirdest, craziest things to me
yeah,
sometimes. But, I've always really felt like personally what's worked best for me and what makes me feel most comfortable is that everybody has their own path. And even the veterinarians, they have their own path and they have their
yep,
own way of going about things. And you just have to respect them for what they're doing as long as they're able to respect you. And then
yeah.
you can just lead by example. So, them not ever seeing your animal because it's doing so well, or being able to overcome health challenges by what you're doing by feeding these foods, and how healthy and how great your animal needs, and they don't have to be rushed in for all these problems all the time. That's going to be a great example for them to start noticing in their clients. You'll just start like leading by example that way, like be an
It is the
ambassador
best
for raw
way
feeding, and
to get,
they may start
yeah.
changing their mind, and maybe you bring in something like, like a book like this would be a great book. Or you want to, buy them a book, or get them, like, ask them if they'd be interested in checking out a podcast or any kind of research information from like Dog Risk, Dr. Anna in Helsinki. I mean, she's doing some amazing research. So there's all kinds of cool information that you can share with them, and they may or may not bite. They may or may not take an interest in it, but you can just kind of float those little boats out there, put the, just give them these little ideas, and just lead by example, and keep doing what you know is right for your animal, and that will start kind of lighting the way for them to start maybe seeing that there are different ways to do this.
Yeah, it's happening. I've seen it go from absolutely no, you can't feed your animal raw, to slowly going, well, I mean, her dog is awfully healthy.
Yeah.
What am I gonna say about that,
Right, right.
So we're seeing it a little bit, which is great. Carol says that her family and friends think she's crazy for feeding raw. You know, we're crazy with you then, because there's a whole slew of crazy people out there, which is great, because it didn't used to be that way back in the day when, because just like you didn't want to tell people you were vegan, I didn't tell people I fed my dogs raw
I
because
didn't either. I didn't
oh
for
my God,
years. I didn't. I was scared people might come and take my animals away.
yes,
I was
yes,
worried that they might come and try and take them. And when I was doing wildlife rescue, I remember, I'll never forget, like I had all these, I was first for a year I had to help in the clinic, and then after that, once you're established and was a vet tech and all that stuff, so they were like, okay, you can do part of the home care network, and you can just go pick up the animals and bring them to your house. Now you have to have a license. It's different, but it was a long time ago. But anyway,
yeah,
when I was doing that, and they dropped off some little juvenile possums, I remember, and I brought them in. I was actually preparing raw chicken carcasses for them, and the lady totally freaked out on me, and I was like, oh my god, she was gonna like take them from me, and it was like, oh, and I just realized, I was like, all my fears were like immediately like, oh
yeah,
no, like they might.
yeah,
So I was really, I mean, I was already so careful. I started to get a little bit more comfortable, and then I kind of retreated right again after that because I got so scared. But yeah, I mean, it's, you just do what you know is right and what's working. and just
The
keep doing
the
it.
raw summit that we went to, that Casey and I went to back in, I don't know when it was now. Seems like a different lifetime ago.
I know,
Um,
especially with this last
pre-COVID.
year. Yeah.
Um, but when we went to somebody, I feel like I'm at a meeting where, because outside of that group of people, I get very like, oh, who's going to try to close me down because I don't require a Bordetella vaccine on dogs, and who's going to come after me. But when I go to those, which I'm saying to Carol and Victoria, maybe you should go, because when it suddenly becomes very real that what you're doing is unbelievably one of the best choices you can do for your pets and for your family. Truthfully, people think you're crazy, but when I think about the money that I save not taking my animals to the vet, just that alone, people want to do it. You can save so much money that way. That's not why I do it, but sometimes you have to kind of put that into somebody's head, that the money that you can save by having a healthy animal. There's a lot of money in sickness. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And vet care is so
so
expensive. Yeah.
you're not crazy, Carol.
No. And the other thing too is that that's awesome, Victoria. Victoria is a friend of mine, so thank you, Victoria.
Yeah.
But the what I was gonna say too, I don't remember now. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry. Oh, I got all excited that Victoria's here. But I was gonna say that that's one thing about SFRA in particular is that a lot of times people come in and they're like really shy about admitting their craziness about their
Yeah.
dog or cat, and I'm like, no, you're with your people, you're with your tribe, like let it go, you're good, we embrace you, we understand you, we totally get you, like
Yeah.
you are not here, that is not crazy, here that is normal, and we all love our animals that much. And that's one of the things about SFRA. I mean, I'm talking about SFRA again, but one of the
No,
things
it's good.
about SFRA is that I always wanted to develop a community where we outside of SFRA, we might be like warring with each other because of our training methods, or you're a breeder, or you're a rescuer, or you're a cat person or a dog person, or all these different things, right? But within this community and inside this space, I've hoped to create a place where we can focus on our commonality of like
Yeah.
loving our animals so much that we want this right thing for them, and that we all want to focus on that one shared thing where we all believe in feeding real food. And so we can let those other things sort of fade away while we're also embracing this one same thing, the one same thing, the common thing. So focusing on our commonalities, and that can bring us all together closer as a community. And we don't need to focus on the things that make us different, but focus on the things that we're all have in common, and that will help bring us together so we can have better communication and better support for each other, and respect for each other. Because when you look at someone who's like the other, or you look at someone who's like, you can start building up these like, you know, it's getting a little bit long. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit long here, but you can build
Fine.
up like space between humans instead of bringing us closer together. It becomes like too much space and distance where we can not get them, or
Yeah.
think that they're so different than us that they don't even understand me, or they're not like me and we're different. And I love the diversity of our group, and I love diversity as like a huge thing for me. And I love that we're all different and unique, and we have these different that I mean everything that I do is custom, like a custom diet, a custom, everyone's got this own personal journey that they're on. But if we have this one focus where we all know that nobody is going to come to SFRA who doesn't love their animal. They
Yeah.
love their animal, and that because we love our animals so much, they have made their way and found their way to SFRA, and we need to honor that and focus right there on that. That to me, it doesn't matter what they're doing in other ways, and they're all doing it with love. It's because they love their animal. And
Yeah.
so that's the part that we need to focus on, and that we all share that love for animals, and that we can start there. That's a great place to start, and to better understand each other, and I don't know, just have more compassion and more understanding for other people who are different than us. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the good and the bad in the pet industry, is that if we would all in the pet industry, because even within I know you've seen this, but even within the raw community, we get people who are,
That's
you know,
when I started SFR. It was like that. These warring factions. It was like, don't give veggies, only do prey model. It was like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, people were fighting so much, and I was like, I don't want that. I want to be like, look, it's all welcome here, just as long
yeah,
as you're feeding real food. That was my only thing. There were some requirements, but there's a lot of leeway for, and a lot of room for differences on
yeah.
above and beyond that.
There is a lot, but there's, there are, you do. I know the spa is very much the same way. Like there, I told you, I pulled kibble off of my shelves a few years
That's
back
so
because
awesome, Carrie.
it
Yeah.
was a hard,
Super brave.
it
Yeah.
was, a lot of people say it was a brave decision. I don't know that it was brave in the sense that people think. Me, it was just, I was so tired of making excuses for something on my shelf. I was so tired of saying, well, if you have to,
Yeah,
well,
if you're spending every day talking, like I could totally see. I mean, that was kind of with me with some things I used to carry that I don't carry anymore. You know, it's like
yeah,
and that just shows your character and your integrity that you're willing
yeah.
to do that self-analysis and to revise what you're doing. You know, I mean,
Well, you know what I found was
that's
happening?
great. You're
What I
just
found
making
was
things better.
happening is people would say, well, Carrie's a certified, she has that kibble on her shelf.
So, yeah, that
And
was
I
giving
thought, oh my God,
permission.
how
Yeah.
many of those people have I not been able to talk to? How
Yeah.
many, are just coming in and they just glance and they're like, oh, okay, she's got that on the shelf, so it must be good because they're all certified
Yeah.
pet nutritionists.
And it's
And
your
they walk me
endorsement.
out my,
That's your endorsement. You
it's
were endorsing it.
completely
Yeah.
an endorsement that I couldn't do. And, but I also am not one to yell
She's
and,
dreaming right now.
oh, she's dreaming about her breakfast.
Or running. It looks like she's running. She's a
Don't touch that rabbit. That's right.
coyotes. It's coyotes. That's what she's been hunting lately. Ugh.
Oh, really? My dogs are my dogs have been, oh, my dog got bit by a turtle. But okay, is this gonna say the love of my life? Real quick, I'm gonna end with
This
this
should be
cute
our
little.
last. I was gonna say this is a good end final
This
story.
is the love of my life dog. Like, I have a codependent relationship with this dog. It's not healthy at all. I admit it. I have an unhealthy relationship with this dog named Ansel, and I have. And for the last 9 years, he has wanted to get a turtle, and he got one, and it bit the living, you know what,
Good.
out of him.
Good turtle.
And I said, I'm sorry, you deserved that.
Yeah,
Like,
for
he has
sure. I
been
was gonna say.
tormenting those turtles for 9 years.
And
And
yeah.
he got one out of the pond and it bit him, and it bit him pretty good right on the lip. So
Is it a red-eared slider?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
they can. They're feisty.
They got him. But
That's good.
and then I felt bad because he's looking at me and I'm like, well, I mean, I can't. You need to stay out of the pond. But he just goes in there all the time. He's always got little brown on his face. He's a little, and
Aw.
his name is Ansel. He's named after Ansel Adams.
Aw.
But when I first got him, people thought that I named him Asshole, and I'm like, no,
Why?
because it's it's kind of a long story. But when I first got him, I was trying to get him, just figure him out, and I had him out in my front yard, and he took off running down the street, and I went chasing Ansel, Ansel,
Oh.
Ansel. So my whole neighborhood was like, "You named your dog Asshole," and I'm like, "Oh my God, no! Why would you think that? No."
That's really funny. That's a great
Yeah,
end of the
and now
story.
he's
That's a
just,
great end to the show to end with
yeah,
the funny.
he's great. So I'm a crazy dog person, and Casey's a crazy dog person, and you me.
And we both
I'm
have
gonna.
turtles.
You have turtle too?
I have turtles. Yeah, I've had turtles for a long
I
time.
have turtles and
Yeah.
koi and
Yeah.
all sorts of animals in my yard, including some lizards. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know we got off to a little bit of a rough start. I'm going to talk to Kasie about maybe
Okay.
Kasie. I love talking to Kasie, and she's in San Francisco, so I don't get to see her. And maybe we'll do a couple more of these when we get things a little bit more
Thank you,
figuring it
Victoria.
out how we
Thanks,
can do it.
Carol. Thanks, you guys. Thank
Yeah.
you for posting the comments. That really helped because we weren't sure if this was working.
Yeah. I'm like, is this working?
Yeah.
We can see that there's people there, but nobody's typing in questions. And
Thank you.
questions are I can do the podcast and bring Kasie back on, and then Kasie and do the podcast, but I like to do this so that I can offer up some questions. But maybe we have some people on here that are just already too educated.
Well, and also I think we just have to maybe do more. I should have done more promoting and posting and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
we'll do it again. We'll
Yep.
talk. I'll text you. We'll if Casey's on board, I'm on board. Maybe we'll do this, so or every week or something. We can answer some questions
Pop
for you
on.
guys.
And
Yeah.
Lori was great. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate all your help.
Yeah,
Of
Lori is behind
course.
the scenes. For any of you guys who have your own businesses, if you are looking for somebody who can help you with your social media, your marketing, the name of her company is called Allied Exchange, and she helps me do all. Don't judge her based on this craziness because this is a very new platform for her and me. It's called Riverside FM, and this was our first kind of platform of doing it. But Lori's been great. Kasie, as always, you are so informative, so positive, so enjoyable to talk to, and I'm just so glad that I came across your story. That just warms my heart. I tell
Oh,
your story all the time. I wish it was my story. You have such a better story than I have.
aw. Well, I really value our friendship, Carrie, and I love everything you're doing. You're so awesome. You're such a force. You're out there like changing lives. It's amazing. So thank you. I'm so
Yeah.
honored to be on with you and to get to
Yeah.
know you more. So thank you.
We'll do it again. We'll
All
do it
right,
again.
cool. Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Take
Bye. Thank you.
bye.
All right.
I don't know how to get off now.
So I don't know if it says it's still recording. So I'm
I
not
don't know. It
sure.
says I can hang up, and I'm
Does
just
Lori pop it off or what happens now?
Lori. Do we do this or